What's up, armchair Phantomaniacs? This is the Real Last Jedi coming to you with another video. Today we're going to be talking about Moon Knight Episode 5, and we'll be having a reaction, a short spoiler review for that episode. Then in a day or two you'll get Episode 6. But before we get started tonight, remember to hit the like button on our videos, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you'll be reminded or alerted when we have new content available, and leave a comment in the comment section below if you have ideas for videos that you'd like to see us do, or movies you'd like to see us watch that we may not have seen before and you'd like for us to do that and do a review of them. Just leave comments or get in touch with us on Facebook at the Facebook group Armchair Fandom, or you can reach us at Armchair on Twitter at Armchair_Fandom. And with all that said, let's get started.
Oh man, my fault, Lucas. You wanted to contact me again. You contacted me from Turf Toe or Ox Toe or whatever. What's the name of that dump that you guys are on? The Last Jedi's on, whatever that name of that dump planet is. We are coming to you live from the flourishing town of planet of Korriban, where yours truly, centrally located in Valley of the Dark Lords, is coming up with his new plans to rule the galaxy. That's right. You're welcome.
Why is it called the Valley of the Dark Lords again?
Well, I got one thing to say to you. Didn't I tell you? No, I didn't. That must have been any of your business. We will get to you and tell you all about that right after we hunt you down. Because remember, Order 66 is coming for you.
Why you got an Avengers shirt on, man?
What are you, the internet dress code police? We're talking about Marvel movies, man. Was I supposed to wear a Napoleon Dynamite shirt?
That would be a great multiverse character to show up. The multiverse where Napoleon Dynamite was given the super soldier serum.
The only character I would take from Napoleon Dynamite to be my Sith apprentice would be Uncle Rico. And what are we doing again? I know I threw us off track again, but somebody's got to keep this show light.
Yeah, Moon Knight, Episode 5. Episode 5, man. It's been a while since we've done a Moon Knight review. We'll be caught up after this week. We can start getting into doing some new material.
Right.
So like I said, if anybody watching has any ideas for content you'd like to see, topics you'd like to see us discuss, or movies you'd like to see us review, we're always open to ideas.
Yeah, ideas cannot be for us to go off the air and not come back. That's not one of the ideas we'll accept.
Yeah, that way. Yeah, we won't accept that, or we won't accept any ideas that involves us jeopardizing our channel to the woke agenda, to the YouTube algorithms or speech monitors.
Exactly, the shills of the world.
Yeah, the normies. All right, Moon Knight Episode 5. Where did it pick up at? The Episode 4. He goes in and finds the scarab in the. I forget who I kept watching review this, and well, Stephen referred to it. He had to go down in what he referred to as the gullet to get the scarab. So he finds it, but he gets shot at the end of Episode 4, and he wakes up in the mental asylum, and that's how Harrow ended up getting the scarab.
Yeah.
After he killed him. So, well, I guess he did, or did Layla. Is revealed.
Actually, Arthur Harrow's the one that shot him 3 times.
But who actually ended up with the scarab? Was it Layla?
Layla ended up with it because, Stephen or Mark was incapacitated, as we well know.
Yeah. So in episode 4, he wakes up in the mental asylum, and the last thing we see is still can't pronounce her name, but the goddess. How do you
I can't
Tarawit?
I can't remember pronounce that. I can barely remember Conchu.
Yeah, Tarawit or something to that effect. But we pick up in episode 5 at that scene where they see her and they start screaming. Well, this picks up with her seeing them, and her screaming. So basically, episode 5 was their journey through the afterlife to be judged. Uh, both of them is on this ship going through the desert on their way to who was the gate, who was inside the gate when they got there, but the gate was closed. Was it Osiris,
I think.
the Egyptian god Osiris?
Yeah, I believe that's who it was. Like I say, it's been a few weeks since I've watched that. A couple of weeks since I've watched that. So yeah, that seems to ring a bell.
So she puts Stephen's heart and Mark's heart on the same side of the scales that we've seen throughout this episode, the
All
scales of judgment, which I was thinking that was only the scales that the goddess Ammit, who Arrow's that working for. I don't know exactly how that works, if that just applies to her or all the Egyptian gods, but Tarawit or whatever her name is puts both of their heart in this scale, and the scales can't balance.
Yeah, and again, it's all about trying. The whole and there's a little, and I think it's in this episode that we get in the asylum we see where you have the one tomb in there, and that's an Easter egg for the Jake Lockley, who is the third personality of the Moon Knight character himself, and that's the only mention you get to see of him in this episode. But again, they're stringing all.
Well, that was episode 4.
You sure? I thought it was 5.
No, that was episode 4 when they were running around in that asylum trying to find their way out, just before they ran into the hippo god.
Yeah,
I'm
the
just
hippo god.
calling her the hippo god. I don't know what her name is.
Yeah,
I can't pronounce it.
Hippo goddess. I can't remember her name either. That's what I do as well.
So this episode was just simply her taking them on this ship through the afterlife to be judged. And
well, and you see also what happens with Mark's life, how he ends up being where he is, and how Stephen came to being, Mark's childhood and everything, and that's very revealing. They changed it up from my understanding from the comic books, but since I have very little knowledge of the Moon Knight character in the comics, it worked for me, even if it was a little bit different. It made a lot of sense.
There's one thing about that didn't make sense to me. Maybe you can clarify it, which I'm glad you brought that point up, because this whole show has revolved around this character that has a split personality. Through the show, we're led to believe there's only 2 of them: the personality of Stephen, the personality of Mark Spector. Mark being the mercenary, Stephen being the museum. I forget what you call those people that go out and gather artifacts to put in these museums.
Something like that.
Curator, yeah, museum curator. And so in this episode, after he dies, when we're taken into the afterlife, now you have both personalities that need to be judged. But since it's just one person, she puts the heart of each personality in the scales, and it can't balance. There's something in this character, this person, that's keeping the scales of justice, finding out if they're a balanced being or if they're an unbalanced being. And that's where you're talking about. We're taking on some flashbacks to show. This is where I got a little bit confused. We're led to believe that the mother was abusive because Mark had allowed his younger brother to go into a cave with him, and the cave flooded and his younger brother died, and his mom basically blamed him and became an abusive mother. And Mark supposedly created the alter ego, the split personality of Stephen, to protect himself from his abusive mom.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. Yep.
But if that's the case, wouldn't Stephen remember the abuse? Because in episode 5, it made it look like Stephen was coming to the realization and remembering the abuse of the mother, and that Mark already knew about it. But if Stephen was created to be the one that absorbed the abuse, wouldn't Stephen be the one that remembered the abuse?
You would think, but again, unless he blocked it out too, they didn't really clarify that point you brought up there. They kind of just, Stephen was brought in to help Mark cope with everything.
Okay, yeah, now it makes sense, man. Now it makes sense. I believe Jake Lockley is actually the one that created Mark and Stephen.
Yeah.
Now that you mention that, that's why Stephen wasn't able to remember the abuse until it was showed to him while they're on the ship on their destination of being judged in the afterlife. So, yeah, that makes sense now. That's the only thing that didn't make sense to me. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the scales never do balance. To keep this video a little bit short, the scales never do balance. And because of that, these creatures start coming up to the sand, out of the sand to the ship to try to drag both of them into, I guess, damnation is in this afterlife would be damnation. And they're fighting for each other and trying to help each other. What ends up happening is they're about to drag Mark overboard, and Stephen goes to rescue him and falls overboard and becomes frozen in the sand.
Right.
And when that happens, when that split personality is thrown overboard, it shows the scales balance.
Yeah.
And Mark, the split personality of Mark, is able to enter into the sea of reeds. None of that makes sense to me, though, because why was the Jake Lockley character not being judged? Or was he blocking all this out in his mind?
I don't think they ever clarified that because, like you said, we don't see Jake Lockley until the very end, as you know, except for the beginning. So they never really did give you any inclination when he would show up. Or even if he was in the picture, that he was the one that could have been keeping the scales from being balanced. There's also that possibility.
Well, the possibility is, I think the only thing that makes sense in that regard is the fact that he never actually died. And in that moment after he was shot, he was dreaming all that stuff. But it was if Stephen and Mark both were created personalities to protect Jake from trauma, then in that moment after he got shot, those two went into this supposed judgment realm while he was lingering there, not actually dead yet.
Yeah, I mean and then when Stephen goes back to I think he goes back in there. Here he does that in episode 6 where he goes back here and rescues Mark.
Well, Mark goes back and rescues Stephen,
and basically what happens there is that's when you get everything starts to come together.
Yeah,
the character as a whole.
Yeah, I liked 4, 5, and 6. We'll get to 6 later. We're about 15 minutes on this one. There ain't a whole lot more of it to cover.
Yeah.
I like the show, man. I mean, I think it was the better show of any of the Disney Plus shows. It captured my attention more. I guess the only one that really compared was the Loki series, because that dealt with the time variance authority and all that crazy mind stuff.
My favorite of all the MCU shows on Disney Plus was Loki. Even though it started off slow, it finished good. And I like Falcon and Winter Soldier an awful lot. And I think Moon Knight was okay. I don't think it was the greatest show, but I thought it was pretty good. My problem is I've never been a big fan of the character. Now, this did help me learn more about him, and I'm looking forward to seeing him show up in future projects. So I think this show served a purpose.
Yeah, we got one more episode to do on this series, and then we're going to cut this video off. But the only complaint I would have with this series is that they should have actually named this series Mark Spector or Jake Lockley or some other name other than Moon Knight, because you actually only see him out of 6 episodes, maybe a total of 10 minutes out of 6 50-minute episodes. So, but it was kind of an intro to the character. So now that we got the backstory to the fact that this is a split personality person and all that, we can get more of him just as Moon Knight going forward in the MCU.
Right.
But with all that said, man, I'm going to cut this video off. You got anything to add before we?
No, like I said, I agree with you. And like I said, I mean, it would not be my top favorite show of the MCU shows, but I will say that, even though I liked Loki, Hawkeye, and Falcon Winter Soldier better, it certainly served a purpose, and I'm glad I watched it.
Yeah, well, we'll come back and talk about episode 6 and how it finalized and everything. With all that being said, man, remember to like our videos, subscribe to the channel, hit the leave a comment in the comment section below. Hit the notification bell, and you'll get a notification. We got a video up through your email, and reach us on Facebook at the Facebook group Armchair Fandom, and you can reach us at Twitter at armchair_fandom. And Ashley's going to be managing Facebook group because my personal account got suspended for a couple of days.
Yeah,
you'd never guess I like to argue with people, would you?
No, not at all. That totally sounds like that must be a different personality, like Mark Spector of you or something. Had to be somebody else.
Yeah. Good answer, man. All right, man. Take it easy.
All right, later. Bye.